Joining me now for more on this is Lieutenant Colonel Tony Schaefer. He's a senior fellow at the Center for Advanced Defense Studies and the author of The Last Line. Good to see you tonight. Colonel, thanks for being here. When you and I were getting together on this issue earlier, this news hadn't broken, and now it has. Right. Snowden told The Guardian he could monitor anybody. Here he is. Let's watch.
I, sitting at my desk, certainly had the authorities to wiretap anyone from you or your accountant to a federal judge to even the president.
Before we go on, I want to get your response to this information coming out that he leaked classified information about the federal government's program.
Well, he did, Harris. I mean, I agree with Representative King that this is tragic. There's no way this guy should go about his business without consequences. I don't agree with Representative King regarding the fact that the program is all legal by the fact that Representative Sensenbrenner, who wrote the Patriot Act, said himself, I didn't intend it to be used that way, break, break. With that said, Mr. Snowden should have approached someone like me or others who have been whistleblowers, and I would have put him on track to contract either Project and Government Oversight, Judicial Watch, who help whistleblowers. And as Peter King said, he should be disclosing this to certain members of Capitol Hill. I had to whistleblow on something called Able Danger regarding data mining back pre-9/11 regarding the Gorelick memo and failures to actually process information. Speaker of the House, Denny Hastert, asked me to testify. That's how we did it. It was all above board. We had both open and closed hearings. That's the proper way to do it. Unfortunately for Mr. Snowden, he didn't do it that way, and I think he's caused far more problems for himself. And frankly, Harris, he's defected. He's in enemy territory right now. I know that China is not technically an adversary of ours, but as we know, there's been a ton of hacking going on. So we've got to be aware of the fact that whatever information's in his head is now with the Chinese in some form, or potentially in the hands of the Chinese in some form.
Wow. I had not heard anybody put it exactly like that. Now, you just probably heard Congressman King of New York talking a little bit about, but you dug in a little bit deeper there. Defected, that's a word that has a lot of impact.
It does, and he's given the Chinese a huge chit in the game. I mean, let's be real here. He is a former CIA operative, and I'm telling you right now, with his attitude, the way he's talked about this, he's disgruntled, and I suspect that he has information from his CIA days he's had with him or brought with him. Let me tell you something else. Right now, NSA is panicking because everything that he took, they know. All the stuff he downloaded before he left Hawaii, they're going back and checking right now. And let me tell you, there's a lot more probably going to come out. And right now, as I agree with Representative King, now's the time to figure out what this guy's done, because we got to figure out how to damage control around it right now.
Or try to get him extradited out of there. You know, I do want to tell our viewers, initially you and I were going to talk about the program that the NSA was running as being an overreach, in your opinion. So, as I understand it, though, you would have supported Edward Snowden had he come to you.
I would have got him to the right mechanisms. There are ways of getting information out. As much as I think that Rand Paul, Senator Paul, and others have legitimate criticism, and now we're going to have a debate. The other notable thing is the president said, let's have the debate. We should have always had the debate in the open. With that said, Representative King is correct. Mr. Snowden had no right to unilaterally, on his own, without any checking with anybody within his chain of command, within the IG, without anybody's approval, to go public on this. I went public after Congress gave me permission to do that. You've got to do this in the right way to be effective. This guy did not want to be effective. He wanted to do damage. And clearly that's where this is all going right now. He's done damage. He could do more by the fact he's sitting in China.
You know, one of the things that you question when you watch him in this interview brought to us by the Guardian newspaper is just why he felt the desperate need to come forward now. And one of the things he says is because of the way that they were collecting information on everyday Americans, he thought that it could possibly fall into the wrong hands. Let's watch. I'll get your response.
Right.
Absolutely. I mean, anybody in the positions of access with the technical capabilities that I had could, you know, suck out secrets, pass them on the open market to Russia. You know, they always have an open door, as we do.
Was he right?
No, he's not. He's essentially an admin guy. He's like a master admin overseeing all the IT in a corporation. I think he has access to things like the briefing. By the way, that's one of the reasons when I ran these type of operations, we never left briefings on a wide area network or with someone because of this very potential happening. He is not involved. He is not a member of the team running these things. He's not in the legal oversight team. So as much as I think there may be valid concerns regarding the execution of the program, He's not in the know. He's an admin guy, and frankly, if you look back at his history, he failed. He had problems in the Army, he broke his legs, got kicked out, didn't like the way CIA was running operations. He says so himself. Unfortunately, I think the guy's disgruntled, and I think that's why he did what he did. It's not about fixing things. It's about trying to basically poke someone in the eye without any interest in trying to fix what he thinks is broken.
One last question for you.
Sure.
Glenn Greenwald and Lauren Poitras, the journalists from The Guardian who brought this information to the world, this interview, claim to have more. If there are other Americans in Edward Snowden's shoes, if they're like him and they have information to get out there, what would you tell them at this point?
Look, I admire a lot of what Glenn does. I think he has the interest of the country to try to get the right information out. In this case, he's wrong. And I think, unfortunately, he probably does have more information. I don't necessarily think he has other sources. I think Snowden has given far more to him than Snowden is willing to admit at this point. I think we're going to see a treasure trove of stuff, not for the better, I don't believe, coming out over the next 2 to 3 weeks. With that said, you know, we got to start. The NSA probably is pretty much aware of what this guy took with him. I'm sure they're doing a very thorough check of whatever he printed off before he left Hawaii about 3 weeks ago.
Well, I tell you, when you and I were going to talk, we were going to speak about overreach. You've talked about that a little bit, but you've given us a word tonight, defect, that this young man has defected
That's essentially what it is.
to China, and that's a powerful term. Lieutenant Colonel Tony Shaffer tonight joining us. Thank you very much.
Thank you.